Hello everyone, welcome to Science Club. My name is Slavka and I work at the Law Library. Today's session we'll be looking at sound and vibration. So hopefully we'll make a couple of different instruments and sound making experiments with things that we might have around our house. And we'll also look at how do animals hear. So how does a bat hear, or a snake, or even insects? So we'll have a little bit of a look at that. Now for our first experiment today, we will look at making a strumming instrument. Now I have just a plastic container, a sturdy plastic container, and some rubber bands, different sizes. They came from different things. Some came from packaging, some came from fruit, some came from flowers. So if you have some rubber bands, and if you don't have a takeaway container like this one, you can also use maybe a bowl. This is just a metal bowl, and we'll see how, when we strum our rubber bands, what noise or sound you think they will make. It will depend on the length and the thickness. So let's do it with our container. So all you need to do is pop your rubber bands around the container. You can put as many as you like, and the experiment part will come from strumming it, but then you can also try holding some of it and see what happens. So I'll put 4 on mine. So there's my little strumming instrument, and when you strum it, it will hit. So depending on the thickness of the rubber band, it will produce a different sound. But what you can do is, let's have a look at what it will sound like on a metal container, because sound travels through metal really well. It doesn't travel very well through carpet or fabric. So next time you're at the cinema, have a little bit of a look at what the walls have covering on them and what the seats have and the floor, and you'll find that the walls are actually covered with a fabric, as are the seats, as is the carpet. And one of the reasons for that is, as you'll find out with this, is that sound vibrates, and if we didn't have the soft furnishings, there would just be like an echo, so you wouldn't even be able to enjoy the movies. So now strumming this and then strumming it this way produces very different sounds. So you can have fun with these ones, or maybe find something else. Your rubber bands will sound different on a cardboard box, for example, because it absorbs the sound. So that was our first experiment. Now let's have a little bit of a look at how animals hear. Our next experiment, we will need a cup with a little hole and some string. If you don't have a cup, that's okay. What I've done with this one, again, a piece of string and a bottle cut at the top, and just put your string through the lid like this, and then just tighten the lid. You don't even need sticky tape for that one. And this experiment is like an amplifier. An amplifier actually makes sound a little bit louder. So this is almost shaped like our ear. So this is the string, and when I pull the string, hear that? It's like a bear or growling bear. So you can also maybe use a wet tissue and do it again, and it will produce a different sound. Now let's have a look whether my bottle, now the bottle I just made sure that it had a nice opening just like this one. So let's see whether this will make a sound as well. So just put it between your fingers and pull. Ready? So they're just some of the experiments that you can do just with a piece of string. You can try using wool if you like, but you can put it close to your ear. It's actually quite a gentle sound. This sound, I think that the shape of the cone is a bit different, but makes a stronger sound. So if you get a chance, have a little experiment with a piece of string and a plastic cup. For our next experiment, I have some containers here. Now this one has some rice in it, this one has some dried pasta, and this one has some coins. Now what you can do is, if they were all the same, you could close your eyes and think, oh, what's making that noise? What's that sound? Each of these sounds is a little bit different. It can be like a mystery. And this is rice, like a little shaker. And you can make them in a box, like a matchbox, and almost like a mystery sound. So you can make a few of these with some things you have around your house. You can pick some stones or some pebbles, or maybe something that you find on your walk when you go for a walk. Pop them into a container and see the different sounds it can make. Sound comes from vibrations. Now these vibrations create sound waves, and you can create a sound wave by banging a drum or clapping your hands or dropping something or even singing. One of the first people to actually do an experiment which demonstrated that sound travels through the air was an Irish physicist who was born in 1627. His name was Robert Boyle. And what he did was he developed an experiment, a very simple experiment, which included putting an alarm clock that was ringing inside a bell jar and then extracting or removing all the air out of it. So you could still see the clock that was making the ringing noise, but you could not hear the clock once all the air was removed, because there was no vibration to travel through the air. Now, sound is used by many animals to detect danger, warning them of possible attacks before they begin. Now, have you ever wondered how different animals hear, or how do they make sounds? So insects, for example, have little hairs on their legs, and those hairs actually vibrate as the sound waves travel through the air. Now, a snake feels sound through their skin, so the vibrations actually hit the ground, and the snake, which slithers along the ground, actually picks up the vibrations. Now, bats and other animals like dolphins and whales use echolocation to help them see in their environment. Now, bats are well known for using echolocation, and they emit a sound that bounces off other objects, including the cave, which directs them towards an opening. And this is really important when they are searching for food and shelter. Now dogs have ears just like us. They have 2 ears, one on each side. But there's something very special about dogs because they can actually hear sound at a much higher frequency than humans, allowing them to hear noises and sounds which we just can't. Another experiment which you may enjoy doing with your grown-up at home is to have a couple of glasses or jars of water and have a spoon. Then we'll tap them to hear the different pitch. So reasonably the same because they're all empty. I've put a little bit of food colouring just so that we could see. So I'll fill one up just a little bit. Next one a little bit more, maybe up to half. And then the final one, if we fill that one a little bit higher. So what we can do very gently is just tap and let's hear the different pitch. So if at the top it doesn't make much of a difference, but the bottom, at the sides, is this one the highest? Is that higher than this one? Yeah. So this is another experiment that it's very important that you do it with a grown-up, I think, and maybe in your kitchen or outside. And when you tap them, just do it quite gently. It still makes a really loud sound, but you just have to do it gently. So I hope you have fun with this experiment. Now for our next experiment, what you'll need are 2 balloons and 1 hex nut. Now a hex nut has 6 sides. So it's just a little, like a little screw. Just make sure that it's not sharp because it will pierce the balloon. And a 5-cent piece. Oh, you can use a 10-cent piece, but now pop the 5-cent piece into one balloon. So my 5-cent piece is in my white balloon and my hex nut is in the red balloon. Now I'm just going to pause while I blow these up and then we'll see the noise. I've blown up my balloons, and one with the coin in it and one with the hex nut. They're about the same size, and you want it the size so that you can actually hold it around the top. Now what's going to happen in this experiment is when I spin the balloon, the coin or the hex nut inside is actually going to spin around the balloon and make a vibrating noise. But remember how our coin was smooth around the edges and our hex nut was rough around the edges. So when the coin spins, let's have a look at let's hear the sound. Are we ready? You can see it spinning. It's not making much of a sound at all because there's no vibration. It's very, very smooth. But stop my balloon from my coin from spinning. Now with my balloon with the hex nut in it, you can hear it if I sort of bounce it around. But as the hex nut spins, it makes a very different sound. And the reason for that is because of the different shapes. So as it bounces, it makes a noise. So if you get a chance, please make a whirling hex sounding balloon. And hopefully you'll have some fun with some of these experiments. Thank you so much for joining us on Science Club. We really enjoyed having you, and see you next time.